Hello and welcome to this episode of Hampton Roads Business Live. My name is Rory Graham and I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of having with me an author who happens to live right here in Virginia Beach, and he's Gerald Briscoe, and he's the author of the new book, Lessons from the Back of the Store, which is available on Amazon and Kindle. Welcome, Gerald.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
How are you doing? Rory? Good.
Why don't we start off by you telling us, give us just an overview of what is Lessons from the Back of the Store.
Well, when my dad bought an old drugstore back in Ottawa, Kansas, we didn't have enough money to buy a house, so we just cleaned the back of the drugstore out, and that's where we lived for a couple of years. And it's just life lessons that I learned from observing my parents and how they conducted themselves and how they handled it.
So it's kind of a personal development book or a self-help book? Okay. And what possessed you to write it?
Well,
I mean, a lot of people say they'd like to write a book,
yes,
and you actually did it. So that's why I'm asking.
When Judy's mother started getting some health issues, we had to drop everything.
That was your wife?
Yeah, wow, yeah. And we had to drop everything and go back to Kansas to be with her. And Judy would sit up until 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning talking with her mother. And I could hear what they were talking about, and I got thinking, I wish we had written down some of these stories to pass on to our kids, but it was kind of late now for them. So I said, well, it's not too late for us. And so I got to thinking about what would I write if I wrote a story and wrote some of these things down, just life lessons that I could pass on to my kids. And I just started jotting down some of the lessons that I wanted to pass on to my kids, my grandkids, and then I started thinking of stories that would illustrate those principles. And it just kind of grew from that. I was sitting there thinking one night, and this name, Lessons from the Back of the Store, just popped into my head. So I thought that sounded kind of good. So I just wrote that down, and then I started gathering stories, and I just wrote a story and a little bit about it, and I rewrote it. And I didn't have any experience writing a book. This was, I just learned as I went along, but that's what developed.
Okay, and how long did this take you?
About 7 years, actually, 6 to 7 years. I'd write a little bit, and then I'd edit, and I'd rewrite it, and then I'd edit it, and it just is a long process, especially when you don't know what you're doing.
Okay. I've actually read the book. It's very good. And there's 13 life lessons in it. Is there any one in particular that's most important to you? I guess you think they're all important, but is there one in particular that you might?
I think maybe the lesson on integrity would probably be the best, because that's the foundation for everything. If you don't have a life of integrity, none of these others mean an awful lot. I don't know whether you've ever heard of him, a guy named Dr. Tim Elmore, wrote a book called Habitudes and Attitudes of Leaders, and he uses images to teach the lessons that he wants to teach, and he used the image of an iceberg, and he said that the 10% above the water represents your skills, and you can go a long ways on your skills, but the 90% under the water represents your character, and it's always a character that sinks a ship. So I think that getting your integrity or your character right, so that it'll support you long enough to develop your skills.
Well, this book is so personal for you. These are all things that happen in your life. Yeah. And I mean, as you were writing this, did you realize things about yourself that were developed because of these particular things?
I think I learned, one of the things that I learned was that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. I always, all my life, it seemed like I've compared myself to other people, which is the worst thing you can do. And now I just learned that I've got a lot more skills than I thought I did. And that if you just start, and I'm being more of a perfectionist, I want to get things right before I do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
But I've just learned that if you want to do something, you don't have to know everything to start. You just got to start. And there can't be any guidance until you start.
There's a saying that I have posted for a while. It was on my computer, and now it's on my wall, and it says, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step.
That's good.
And
I like that, Rory.
I like that too. All right, so this book is it talks a lot about core values. And you read Stephen Covey or Anthony Robbins or any of those. They all bring up values. And yours certainly does too. Can you give us a description of what how you would describe core values, and is there one in particular that's more important than the others?
Well, to me, a core value, if you think about an apple, the center of that apple is the core. I think the dictionary says that a core is the center most important part.
Right.
So core values to me is the most important part. And there's a good book called Home Run by Kevin Myers and Dr. John Maxwell. He talks about there are solid lines that we all have to live by that apply to everybody, but there are dotted lines in our lives that's personal to you. My core values may not be the same core values as yours. He said for him, a core value, a dotted line for him would be not drinking alcohol. Now that may not be a core value for you, but for him it was. So if he violated that core value, that dotted line, then it would be wrong for him.
Okay.
So to me, core values are your guidelines, your rules for living.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good description. Your rules for living. Okay, another topic that was hit on the book was finding the right mentors in your life.
Yeah.
And why that's important. You want to talk about that?
Well, I don't know of anybody who's ever done anything worthwhile in life that hasn't had a mentor of some kind. You don't do it by yourself. You just don't. You have to have someone who's been there and done that, whatever that is for you. So a mentor would be someone who has done what you want to do and can guide you through that process. But it's important to choose the right mentors, because the mentors you choose need to have the same core values as you, or basically the same core values as you, so they can guide you in the way you want to go. So a mentor, to me, that's, I like to compare a mentor to, so you're in the photography business, a mentor to me is like, I got a good camera. It's a Nikon D7100. It's a really good quality camera, especially for an amateur. It's got all the bells and whistles that you'd ever want on it. But if I don't know how to operate those settings, I'm going to get some lousy pictures.
Right.
So until I learn how to use those manual settings myself, I've got to set it on the autofocus and let the camera do its thing. So to me, a mentor is kind of like an autofocus on a camera. They're there to guide you. And I've found that most successful people will help you in any way you want to be helped, as long as you accept their advice and follow their advice. Then if it doesn't work out, then we can make corrections and go from there. But they'll help you as long as you'll follow their advice. So it's very important to choose a good mentor.
And that's in anything in life, really.
That's true in anything in life. It's not just in this,
Right.
but anything you want to do.
Well, like I said, I read the book. It's very good. And is there anything I haven't asked you that you wanted to mention?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, so I did a good job. Okay, cool. All right, well, this is Gerald Briscoe. The book is called Lessons from the Back of the Store. It's a self-help book or a personal development book. And it's written a little different, I would think, than some of that you might have read in the past. This is a very personal experience of real life lessons and things. So, which makes it easy to understand because it's illustrated by real stories from his life. And it's available as we do this interview. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available on Kindle. And I wish you the best of luck with this book. And I enjoyed reading it, and I hope others do too.
Oh, thank you, Roy.
Thank you.